some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Welcome back to another episode of Common Sense and the Devil's Advocate. Michael, are you doing well
Yes,
this?
Joseph. I am doing fabulous. I got some Crown Royal chocolate that I couldn't take my eyes off, so I'm enjoying the hell out of that.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, but okay. Um,
I was feeling sweet.
is
I
it?
was
Is it?
feeling sweet.
I
Mm.
am. I am just glad to get back into a real regular cadence after life upended our craziness. But the beauty of that is, I actually got to see Mike in person for a while in
Nice.
the cold tundra of Ohio. And it
Mm.
was cold as nuts. I think we hit -12 one
Mm,
night while I was up there. I was like, "Fuck this. Nope.
Yeah.
Can't do it."
I'm glad I moved south.
100%.
Yep.
So, Mike, joining me tonight is another ex-northerner-ish,
Yeah.
um, my friend Daryl that I've met down here, I guess 5 so years ago now.
Right. Hello, Daryl.
Hey.
And Mike Darrell is a retired state or a retired trooper from the Pennsylvania area. He covered a good bit of area out there. He was for a while picked up his gear in Philly, but did not patrol the mean, crazy streets of Philly. So,
Right.
so I guess that means we don't get to ask Daryl if he's ever seen any crazy Eagle fans chewing on. Was it? Don't take this the wrong way, as he's wearing all Eagles gear. Because you know what I'm saying, don't you? You remember that? You remember the
Uh,
Super Bowl years ago and someone was eating horse? Someone got drunk and did
I
it
had
on.
heard something
Oh,
about
I
that.
saw the video. It was like people were like, "What is wrong?"
Yeah.
They're celebrating, and then there's just,
Yeah.
"What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's true.
How
That's
drunk you got to be?"
crazy
Eh,
people.
I,
I know.
I love that
I
people like.
love my people. I love my Eagles fans, but some of them are crazy. Yeah.
But you know what? I look at that and people are like, "Oh, it's just Eagles fans. They're just ridiculous." I'm like, every football team has got. There's
Exactly.
always one guy out there minimum that'll do it. I mean, come on.
Mhm.
Hell, go to Brazilian soccer. They're known to jump off the stadium and kill
Mhm.
themselves if they
Mm.
lose. They're super crazy there. So, hey, maybe horse shit's very
Uh,
healthy. I don't know, but hey.
Lots of
But anyway,
fiber.
right? Exactly.
Lot.
So Daryl was on the force from pretty much early '80s to the early 2000s, which is a really cool time frame actually, and
Mhm.
that's kind of part of the reason why we wanted to bring you in, just to kind of talk about that kind of stuff and some stories, because we're kids of the latchkey era, is what we kind of refer to ourselves. We're
Okay.
the that group where mom and dad weren't always home when you left school, and what did they do? Either you stayed late or you just went home. And you usually walked home. It didn't really make much of a
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah.
and, you don't have that as much anymore. We've
No.
got everyone's got a low jack of a cell phone on them now, and,
Yes.
helicopter parenting, I think, is
Yeah.
even different than it was back then because you can, always have that perimeter
Yeah.
going around with the kids on there.
That's true.
So, so I wanna go into that a little bit, right? So as I said that we like to kinda go this whole latchkey generation bit,
Mhm.
which goes right into my first question for
Okay.
you. Back then, when you were, say, patrolling or driving around in a patrol car, what would you think that you would see kids doing back then that you don't see anymore? And you still not going into what Daryl does now for his retirement job, but he does interact with kids
Yeah.
still in the age around here. Like, is
It's
there
a good
something you
question.
see, like you can just remember what you would see the kids doing back then, and now you'd be like, nope, they don't.
That's a good question. Because nowadays, back in the my early days on the job, I was patrolling rural Chester County, northern Chester County. And as I'm driving down these back roads, I would see kids in cul-de-sacs playing ball, you
Right.
know? And you don't see and I'm not just a few kids, a lot of kids. And you don't see that nowadays. You don't see a lot of kids playing ball like that unless it's organized. These kids are playing just
Pick up.
as a pickup game,
Yeah,
you know,
I
and
agree. I don't.
and and doing those kind of things.
You do not see kids doing that as much,
Right.
that's for sure, and I mean, yeah, you got me think I'm like, as you're talking, I'm thinking of, all right, being a little bit younger, like, "Why was I was a punk, what was I doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
In those times, and it's got the, '80s, I was still a bit younger, so it was just out, never in the house. Kids were out on a bike and doing all that
Yeah.
stuff, and then you get in the '90s, and then it was, well, kinda dumb stuff that I do where I was keeping
Yeah.
an eye out for the cops.
Now I'm talking
And
I'm talking young kids, like elementary kids, you know? Now, when you get to high schoolers, I transferred to Montoursville
Mhm.
when I was in Northern PA, rural PA up there. They had the river up there, and people had river lots. So we used to go to the river lots because we knew that they were doing a lot of underage drinking. So we pull up at the river lots and we'd hit the lights and light them up, and they would scatter like roaches, scatter like
Oh, that's
roaches,
great.
man. They're running and they jump in the river, and you'd see kids jump in the river and trying to get away, and kids running all kind of places and ways and this and that. And we weren't trying to arrest them. We were just confiscating the liquor and just breaking it up. That's all.
Yeah, not let them get too far into
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah, and just like that, cut it off. We're gonna tell your parents. Let's get out of here, guys.
All right, so that actually reminds me of a story. And I'm gonna get your and I know this goes along with something I think you wanted to ask Mike, so I'm just gonna lead into that one for a second because it hits
Go for it.
hits perfectly with what you just said. So, I don't remember if it was my junior or senior year. I don't remember. One of them, it was, prom. And mom, don't listen to this. She won't anyway, not that I'm really worried about it. But, I remember one of the things that we did after prom was went to prom, did all that, and afterwards, we're trying to figure out what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go. The 4 of us decided we had some booze, we had some weed,
Yeah.
and we're like, "Oh, you know what? Not too far from the house that we were crashing at that night, at the end of a almost cul-de-sac,
Mhm.
there was a church." All right? Just big old parking lot church, and on a Friday night, Saturday night, it's abandoned. There's no one going there,
Mhm.
for anything. It's like, "Oh, it was a nice night." We went out there, and I remember we were just laying on the hood of a car, drinking, smoking, doing our thing,
Mhm.
just really just being kids and not in a destructive manner
Yeah.
whatsoever. And I remember we got to the point we must not have been too far gone because you see a car pulling into the driveway or the parking lot a distance. I remember my buddy going, "Oh shit, that's
Yep.
a cop."
Ye
Bottle, whatever. Girls jump in the back seat of the car. We're like, fuck,
Yeah.
this isn't gonna go well, Or I don't even know what went through my mind at that point. Because at that point, I'm thinking, all right, I know a couple cops,
Mhm.
ones that I are really close with, even at church and all that.
Yeah.
Do I use their name or not? Because that doesn't always go well. I know I did it once
It's true.
when I got a ticket once, and they were like, "Yeah, well, here's your ticket." And then
Yeah.
like 3 days later, I see the guy. He's like, "Hey, heard you met Bobby the other day." I'm like, "Oh, geez."
Yep.
So, but this guy came up, and I remember, he got the flashlight, and he's looking at us, and we're all dressed to the nines, and all that, and he kind of smirks a little bit. What are you guys doing? Like, oh, we just stopped on our way home from prom to have a cigarette. We don't want to smoke in front of our parents, all that
Mhm.
stuff. And he knew we were full of crap. And so what he did though, right? Because again, not knowing where this is gonna go, we must not have been too inebriated, I'm assuming, because he just flashlight in the back windows. Girls, are you here on your own free will?
Yep. Yep.
Yes, officer, yes. They're scared
Yep.
too. He
Yep.
looks left, he goes, "Go home."
Yep.
And he wasn't like, didn't try to search us. He knew he'd already scared the crap out
Oh
of
my
us.
god.
But
Yeah.
it's like, when you come up to that kind of situation, how do you make that, how do you make that decision? And I don't want to lead into nowadays because it's a little bit different. We're talking, early 90s when this
Yeah.
happened. So you can make that gut call based on, I'm assuming, the whole situation,
You
right?
have to read the whole situation. You have to read everybody's reaction. What is actually going on? What are they doing, you know?
Yeah.
Is it so egregious that, yeah, that person needs to be arrested for it? Or is it just something like, if I was that age, I'd be doing the same thing. You wanna
Yeah.
be reasonable about what it is that you're gonna do with
Yep.
what you got in front of you? And you're reading off of what they're giving you. That's what's happening. You're
Yeah.
reading what they're giving you.
Which has got to be, I mean, can't be easy
Mhm.
in the moment. But the thing, I guess I was wondering as I'm talking about this and and asking you that, and I don't know how far it went from your career between early 80s and early 2000s. Because like now, that police car pulls up, everything is being recorded from
Yes.
the moment they get in there. Just
Yeah.
kind of like you get pulled over now.
Body cams.
Yeah, and body cam.
Yes.
So, now they're like, listen, even if I wanted to give you a warning,
You got you
I
they
can't
they have
because
to.
it's
Yep,
so like, I mean,
yep.
was the cameras prevalent for you at any part of your career?
The cameras started coming into play towards the end of my career.
Okay.
Now I was lucky because I rode the motorcycle. They didn't have cameras on
A little
motorcycles.
too noisy.
Well, yeah, but they didn't have them,
Okay.
so I stayed out of the patrol car as much as I could when I was out on the road, and I just took the motorcycle and it was great, But, yeah, as those cameras came into play, it really hampered what you could do and the leniency you could give people because if your supervisor back at station would see that you let this person off, they may come down on you because you didn't do your job, you know? Well, yeah, I'm still doing my job. I'm not doing my job as far as that arrest, but I'm having that interaction with the person and,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's just having that interaction,
Which is so that's actually
that
kinda
contact with community.
and yeah, and that's kinda where I was thinking along this as I was asking it, and we're jumping obviously around time frames and all that
Mhm.
year, but do you think? Because I remember growing up in the younger days, and it wasn't like cops were never considered the bad guy,
No.
other than LA, unless you're
Mm,
an NWA, but even that was shit, almost 90s, at that
yeah,
point, that was a lot of situational stuff,
yeah,
but it wasn't, they came to your school, they came to scouts, and they
yeah,
had a presence
yeah,
so that kids were never afraid to go up to a cop
right.
if they ever needed something. And if they saw one, they're only running if they were like, know they're doing something
Doing something wrong.
wrong, as
Yeah,
opposed to freaking out,
yeah,
and all that.
yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder if that's still the same anymore,
Well,
especially
go ahead.
no, no, I'm just saying, but now so you take that, you had the body cameras, you had the dash cams, and now you got which again, I think it must change the entire mindset of an officer
Mhm.
when you pull up to a situation or a car and you got somebody out there just holding a camera
Yep,
or a phone just because
yep,
just for no real reason.
because they
It's like,
can.
why are you doing what are you getting out of this?
Yeah,
And so you're
yeah.
you're the situation's not
Mm.
the way it used to be,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and that's a great point what you're making right there because back when I was early on the job and even towards the end of the job, people didn't have the cell phones with the capability to record everything you do.
Yeah.
The challenge was for us on the road, we'd go out and get involved in a situation. We would react and respond a certain way. And then people that are the head of our departments, internal investigations, lawyers, all this and that would have days, weeks, and months to scrutinize every
Everything.
second and every move you made in that quick instance where you had to make a quick decision to handle whatever it was that you were doing. That was the problem because
That the
oh, go
thing
ahead.
I wanted to ask, that I didn't even think about, which I was like, yeah, well, that kind of like blows my mind, is oversight, as we're all saying for police officers, law enforcement. Yeah, this is a great thing. Oversight. Where are the body cameras? Where are the chest cameras? We got to see what you're doing at all times. I never thought about that one aspect of the times that you guys are in a situation that normally you wouldn't cause a big ruckus about it, but now you kind of have to because if not, it's your ass. I never
Exactly
even thought
right.
about it from that angle,
Exactly
and
right.
that itself actually goes, well, shit. But what if you didn't have the body camera? I'd be able to go home.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You don't know, right?
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah, you
Because
can't
at
have
the
your
end of the
cake and
day
eat it too, I guess.
because at the end of the day, that officer has a family to deal with and take care of. And,
Go home to.
if he or she doesn't do their job, they could lose their job and lose all of that they have at home. So they've got to CYA, got to cover their ass,
Yeah.
cover your ass. That's what it stands, that's what it stands for.
Yeah, did you feel more like back then, was it as cliche as it is in the movies? Was a lot of it truly gut instinct? 'Cause nowadays it's technology and, like, you come up on a situation, would it be, "All right, I know I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z. My gut's telling me, don't
You
go through that door."
you really have to fall on your gut. You really did, because it's like spidey senses, That's what I relied on. I relied on that to survive
Yeah.
because, there were situations that things that I didn't wanna do that I had to do, and I had to go through this door and go in and search this building and, or whatever it was, and you had to do it. But as you did it, you followed your gut.
That's a good segue into my next question for you. It was the blind eye head turn. So what I'm going to ask you is, what are some laws you witnessed as a rookie when you first started out that later on in your career you decide to just ignore and turn the other way and be like, yeah, this really isn't worth my time or a big deal. When you had that gusto as a rookie to make a name for yourself, and then later on you're like, yeah, I got better shit to do with my time.
Well, see, now, that's a
Jay
good point.
jaywalkers!
No, but that's a great point. That's a great point because there are, and I used to laugh at the young kids, as I
Yeah.
called when they come on the job, you know? And when I went in the academy and I came out, you know, the old troopers, you know, with the attitudes and everything. I mean, these guys have seen it all, you know.
Yeah.
So they and man, they had swagger, boy. Those boys had swagger, man. They were so cool. Would laugh at us young guys. It's like, oh, here they come, full of piss and vinegar, ready to save the world, you know? You know what I mean?
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, you know, they're gonna go out and write 100 traffic tickets or whatever, and you know, and this and that. And it's like they're gonna save the world. But it's like, no, motherfucker, you're not saving the world. You know, so your point, your question, like traffic violations, like, you know, going out there and writing a lot of speeding tickets and a lot of just traffic tickets and whatever. That is something that you start on the job and you start doing it early. And then as time goes on, you're like, that's not such a major thing I need to really focus on. And, you know, and you move away from that, you know.
You can feel the guy that's doing 100 past you. Well, all right, yeah, I'm gonna like this guy, but the
Well,
guy that's
the problem
a
is
few
you come
miles an
out you
hour,
come out, you're writing 100 tickets a month, you know, in the beginning of your career. Well, guess what they expect you to do for the rest of your career?
100 tickets a month.
100 tickets,
Oh,
yeah.
so that okay, that segues into the famous question that everyone always says,
Others,
is
and I know it,
you know what it is,
I
right?
know what it
So
is.
is there a quota, or is it more a matter of, is the quota not really a quota, but it's a, "This has always been your expectation, so we just assume you're gonna continue like any other business," in all honesty?
That is so funny because,
I gotta
uh
you brought it on,
that's a
come on.
great question. No, no, honestly, it is a great question, but here's the truth. There is no quota. It is illegal. Here's what happens, and here's why. Because if they had a quota that you have to write X amount of tickets every month, then you're not doing your job properly. You're not out there, you're just writing tickets to just write tickets, you know? So what would happen in court if they would find out that somebody at your station, barracks, or whatever is saying you have to go out and write this many tickets as a quota, every ticket that is written would be thrown out.
Good.
I was not like a super aggressive guy out there writing a gazillion tickets a month. That just wasn't me, you know. So I had a lieutenant one day pull me in his office and question me with my corporal. He's like, "Well, you know, you're not out there writing a lot of tickets." I'm like, "I write them as I see fit." You know, and I says, you know, but my contacts are up because I write written warnings.
Yeah,
You know, I would do a fair amount of written warnings, and that's a contact. I said, I'm also having contacts by stopping and having conversations with people in the community,
yeah,
you know, and then I explained to him because if I'm doing an investigation on a burglary or it has happened, I need to have a rapport with the people in that community to be able to approach them and talk to them and get information from them
yeah,
to be able to solve this crime. So that's a contact. You know, so and at the end of the conversation with the lieutenant, you know, who was in charge of my station, he would, you know, because I knew he was being a dick, and I'd be like, okay. So my dick move would be, so Lieutenant, how many tickets do you want me to write?
nice.
And he would, because he couldn't say a
Couldn't say it.
word.
Yeah.
He couldn't say anything. And then my
Uh,
corporal would like chuckle a little bit, and then we'd walk out the office.
yeah,
You know, it's like,
yeah.
you know, yeah. So no, there is no quota.
But
People
the
think there is, but there is not.
well, because they wanna everyone wants to blame something when they make their own mistake.
Yeah,
You know, it's always
yeah.
someone else's fault,
But there
right?
is no quota.
But I would also think that those contacts
Mhm.
would trump, like you said, a ticket every day of the week,
Absolutely,
because when it's something really important,
absolutely.
yeah,
You
it's like
know,
would you rather me have 30 tickets this month, or would you be able to go on the news and say we solved a murder? Which
right?
one would you prefer?
Exactly right.
Well, only one's gonna
Yeah,
give it to you, you know?
yeah.
That's great. On that note, I'm gonna pop open a bottle of Weather Antique 107 for you.
Okay.
You're gonna like this shit.
Ooh, what's the second one?
Yes, like, this is Weller Antique 107. Uh,
Yeah.
this is weeded. It's not this is a little bit hard to find too. Again, I'm just gonna be a little, we'll come back to whatever you like the
Okay.
most. This is a big, I found this up in Ohio, shockingly, but they're close to Kentucky, so they get a lot of good stuff, and, as you can
It's
see,
something good.
I've only had this, that just came back with me a week ago.
Wow.
That's not all me. I'm not that big,
Sure, it's
not
not.
that big of a nush. Just ask my, liver. This one's actually a little bit almost thicker than the Taylor,
Yeah, it
but
is.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's good though. Yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that one. It's a I'm like, "Oh, keep an eye out if I can find it," but I haven't found it down here, in
Right.
Northern
I
Florida,
won't. Yeah.
not easily, at least. Alright, where were we? So we were just talking about
Quotas.
quotas, kinda going with the gut.
So one more question about quotas before we move on is So that was probably the department's most irritating part with rookies is, say most of you would write 10 traffic tickets a week, give or take. But then you got the new guys coming out writing 25 and 30. You're like, whoa, bro, you need to slow the F down or else, yeah, you're making a bad name for all of us. Because then captain's going to come to you and go, hey, Johnson's got 75 tickets in 3 weeks. You only got 25. What's
But they
going on?
they can't talk to you about that. They can't say it.
Really?
They literally cannot say that to you.
Because if it gets out, then
That's
it's
right.
just
Because then all you gotta do is let that outside the building, and whoever said that to you is in trouble. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that
the
is
lieutenant
so cool to know.
yeah, the corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, whoever can't come to you and be like, "Well, how come you're only writing 10 tickets
yeah.
or 5 tickets or whatever?" They can't say that to you because there's no quota. So then
So,
your
and
response back would be, "Okay, well, how many do you want me to write?"
Mm.
so
And
what
they would
about do they sugarcoat it though with the whole semantics of context? So you had talked about context. Would they reword it that way? Like how come your contacts are down this month over last? Even
well,
though there
yeah,
were like warnings and stuff.
yeah, they would try to do it that way. But you can still say, "Well, yeah, my tickets are down, but my contacts are still up
or something.
because I have this,
Okay.
this, this, and all of this," you know? And the other piece is now what they did do is if you were vying for another position for something else within the department, if your traffic tickets weren't at their level that they wanted, you might not get that. So the key is to not let them know what you want, and not
Never
let
let us
them
see it coming.
exactly right, not let them see you
Fuck.
sweat, because it was so funny because like I said, I was not a big ticket writer on the job. And as I became a senior trooper, there was a one lieutenant in particular that would try to fuck with me in different ways, and he would just like say snarky little things, and I would just be like, yeah, whatever, and off I go. And he one day he was fussing to this corporal, and he was like, yeah, he's like that freaking so and so talking about me, trooper, and he said my name. He's like, nothing bothers him. And the corporal just laughed to himself and chuckled and under his breath, and he was thinking to himself,
I'm
that's
trying.
a senior trooper. That's experience right there,
Yeah,
you know?
that's awesome.
So
Uh-uh.
one day, I was walking down the hall and I saw that lieutenant. And I went up to the lieutenant. I was like, Lieutenant, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. It's important. And he's like, well, it might be something like your mom died. And that's what he said to me. It's like, something like your mom died. I was like, as a matter of fact, it is. She died and I need a contingency to come to the funeral and this and that. And when I said that, his face went just white. His face, he was just like, and,
Shit, didn't
and
expect that.
yeah, yeah. And I just nonchalantly was just like, yeah, as a matter of fact, that's exactly what it is. And I need this, 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 and this, and walked off.
Damn.
And he was just like, and from that point, he changed with me. He did not try to fuck with me in any way, shape, or form after that.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
that's why I say you don't let them see you sweat,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, so I didn't even think of this to ask you this one, but you're talking about let them see you sweat and all that, and
Mhm.
we're talking about that. We're talking about traffic violations.
Mhm.
So I gotta at least ask, did you ever have that woman that was like, "What can I do to get out of this?" So people will
Oh
come
my
up with
god, yeah.
any damn option
Oh my
to get
god,
out of
yeah.
a ticket.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're showing you titties and
Mm.
crotch and, we can work this out. No, 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 we can't. No. Because I took that as an insult
True,
because
you're just
and the
doing your
Yeah.
job.
reason I
Yeah,
felt insulted because it's like, just because you have big titties and ass and you're showing me your pussy, your vagina,
you
you
think
think I'm gonna be stupid like, "Oh my god, you can get off, you can go," No.
yeah,
No, you're messing with my integrity. As a matter of fact, I'd be
perfect.
more apt to give a fat, ugly woman a break than a real pretty girl a break at a traffic incident. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 'cause
Honestly, because I'm looking at the
You
fact,
know,
"Oh my god," she
I totally understand the story, Daryl. Because I remember, back when my wife and I first started dating, there
yeah,
was
Mike
a
pulled his pants.
temptation of, she wanted to buy a certain Christmas tree, and she had promised me special favors later for that Christmas tree, and I said, "Honey, the hammer still falls. I want that Christmas tree."
Oh, that's great. I love it, Mike.
So I know exactly how you feel in that moment. I'm like, "You're not taking my power away from me." I'm not
Exactly.
some Neanderthal.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So were you on a job? No? Okay.
No, I was just in a relationship.
dating.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, it really comes down to a respect thing, in all honesty.
Mhm.
It's like, I pulled you over for a reason.
Mm,
This ain't gonna get you out of it.
exactly.
Yeah, what
You know,
yeah, unless you're handing
just
me a envelope of
just
$1,000,000 in
because
case I
you got
lose.
this and all of
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that I'm gonna let you go, you know?
true that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me. It
It
never
it, it
does.
was funny though.
Um,
Well,
but yeah,
speaking of
that's
fun,
funny.
yeah. Well, what was the greatest, funniest, most memorable interaction you ever had with a perp? And what was probably the most disturbing that took you a while to get over, and how did you get through
Wow. Okay.
I wanna hear that ghost story one.
Okay.
Don't tell that one, because that one still fucks me up.
Okay. Okay.
it?
All right. So the funniest. Well, this is one that I didn't encounter, but I heard the story. Okay. This would make you piss your pants laughing.
Uh-oh.
So one day, nice sunny day, troopers running radar, and he's out there making traffic stops and this and that. So back then, the speed limit was 55. Federal law, 55 was the max. Car rolls by 85. He pulls up to the car, stops it, walks up to the car, driver's license registration, please. This guy gives him his stuff. He's like, you were doing 85 in a 55 zone. You're going to receive a citation, and starts to turn to walk back to the patrol car. Now I heard this story, the trooper told us the story. And as he's walking, he's like, it's an older man, like 80s, and he's like, trooper, trooper. He's like, don't you want to hear why I was speeding? And the trooper's like, okay, it's a nice day. Yeah, sure. Tell me, why were you speeding? Why were you doing 85 in a 55 zone?
Enlighten me.
And the guy says, well, trooper, he's like, when you get to be my age and you have a hard on, you want to get home as fast as you can
No.
to use it. Here,
It
here,
didn't
have
work
a
too
good
well, did
day.
it?
Even
Yeah,
if it's a lie, you
have
still
a
take
good
that one
day.
home. Take it home. Oh my god.
You win.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, you
Oh,
win.
that's great.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
waste a boner.
exactly right. Matter of
Hey,
fact, you need an escort?
yeah. Make sure you don't lose. How far are you going?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a good one.
Now, on the other side, one that really got me. There was one day I was in one township, and I happened to be stopped in this mall parking lot doing paperwork. And as I'm sitting there doing paperwork, this kid come running over to my car. I was in a car that day, and a kid came running over to my car, and he's like banging on my window, and I rolled the window down. He's like, "My brother just got hit. My brother just got hit by a car." So I pulled up to the scene, and I look and I see the kid on the ground. So I get out and I start to attend to the child, and like 9, 10-year-old boy.
Uh,
And, I'm getting ready to start performing first aid on him and this and that.
mhm.
And I could hear the ambulance coming, so the paramedics got there to the scene, and they started to work on the kid. And it wasn't an area that was my area, my jurisdiction. It was a local department that was covering the area. So the local officer came and started taking over and handling the scene. Well, in the interim, they said the car that hit the kid was down in the parking lot. So I went down and I went to the car and I
Mhm.
approached the person and got them back to the scene and this and that. And when I got back to the scene, I looked over and they were covering the kid up.
Ooh.
You know, they were covering the kid up because he died right there. And, after that happened and I was finished with everything I had, I jumped in the car and I drove off, and I drove down the road to a place. I pulled off on the side of the road and I bawled like a baby. I cried like a baby because I thought to myself, that 9-year-old boy never had a chance in life,
Yeah.
never had a chance to experience life, and it was taken away from him.
Yep.
Now, granted, what they were doing was wrong. The boys were actually playing chicken with cars, running back and forth across. It was a 2-lane roadway, and they were running back and forth across the street and, playing chicken with cars, and this one car hit the kid. Problem was the guy that hit the kid that was driving the car was drunk.
So it's like
He
mul
Yep,
multiple bad
yep,
things on top of
yep.
one another.
So that one stuck with me.
I would
And how
say
did you recover from that? Did the department help you out?
No, no. The department had
not
they
back in
didn't
the
e
'80s, the
yeah,
'90s.
they did nothing. I mean, and I didn't even tell them that, they didn't know that it affected me like that. I handled that myself, and the way I handled that myself is the grace of God, you know? I prayed about it and just, God's will, and that's
You
what got
say in
me.
the '80s you rubbed some dirt on it also. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you
yeah,
just
that's it.
I mean, yeah, I would think,
Rub some dirt, throw some salt over your
right?
shoulder, and keep it moving,
Yeah, I would guess anything involving kids had to have just been, like,
Mhm.
bad. I mean,
Anything with kids was the
it
hardest thing to deal with.
yeah, it still
Yeah.
is, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I hate even hearing about it, even on
Yeah.
the radio, you're like, "Jesus,
Yeah.
it's."
Yep. So, yeah, you know,
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
it's a part of life, you know? And the interesting thing too is, and I'll say this, people say that crime has changed from then to now,
Hey, that was one of my questions.
you know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Honestly, it has not. What makes it different is we have access to it
Let's hear
quicker.
about it more.
Yeah, we have access to it immediately. So you see more that's happening around you. When I was on the job, I saw so many things and you never saw it in the news, because you didn't have access to it.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Everything is on your phone, on TV. It's so accessible.
It had to have been
That's the
major
difference.
back then to make it on the news.
Correct.
Now,
Exactly
you can
right.
see
Yeah,
every little
everything.
yeah,
You can
every
see
little thing.
everything on your phone, everything on Facebook, everything on Instagram, everything's out there, you know? You have
Yeah.
perpetrators videotaping their own shit,
Ooh,
stupid idiots, and posting it.
make money.
No, it's like,
Yeah.
are you some special kind of stupid? Really? Really? Yeah.
Daryl, you can't fix stupid.
Well,
Well, I did.
well, you can, but it ain't the
I did that on the job too, I did. So that's another story. I would be driving either a marked car or a marked motorcycle, full uniform, everything. And let's say I'm doing 80 mile an hour down the highway, all right? And a car passes me.
you know they're an idiot.
Wait, you passed me and I'm doing 80.
Yeah.
So I light him up and I pull him over. Driver's license, registration, insurance, please, and then hand me the stuff. Excuse me, but are you some special kind of stupid? I literally would
Just
ask
say
him
that.
that question. Are you some special kind of stupid? You just passed a marked Pennsylvania State Police car or motorcycle, and I'm in full uniform, and you passed me speeding. Are you seriously? Help!
Daryl, that's gonna burn another question I'm leading into.
Just stay
So
behind
I have
me.
I have one question that barrels on that, and I titled it as "Hypocrisy and the Civilian Experience." Now,
Here we go.
He's getting he's thinking.
curious as to what laws, other than simple traffic laws and speeding, but what laws do you break frequently? Not felonies, obviously, but little misdemeanors that sometimes you'd be like, "Yeah, you're done." That you kind of break now as a civilian over the past 10 years, 20 years,
Yeah,
actually.
the thing, in vehicles, the thing for me would be speeding. You know,
Okay.
I
It's
you
an easy
know,
one.
I don't go to speed limit. I mean, most of the time, I'm over the speed limit a bit, you know? I try to stay within the realm where because I don't wanna have an interaction with them,
Yeah.
okay? So I try to stay at a speed where I know they won't bother me, you know?
But yeah, what's that?
It's like, in the range of under 10 over. You
Really?
stay
I was heard it was 5.
Yeah, 5, nobody's gonna bother
5
you.
just makes you feel good. If
Yeah,
you feel
5.
safe with 5, so yeah, I'm
But
with you.
if somebody stops you at 10 over, they're fishing. They're fishing, you know? So you usually stay in that realm and nobody will actually bother you,
Makes sense. It's
you know?
probably even harder these days because if you think about it, like, I knew what kind of cars I drove
Mhm.
in the '90s,
Yeah.
and they were
Oh,
noisy
yeah.
as so if you were doing even the speed limit, you thought you were doing 100 miles an hour. But now you
Now,
get in a cheap car now
Cheap.
is quiet compared to then, and
And they're
yeah,
fast.
and you're
Yeah.
just
Yep.
you look down like, "Oh, shit, I'm
Yep.
doing 85. I don't even know it." And
Yeah.
now you got oh my god, can you imagine now with, like, electric cars? If kids
Yeah.
had them back then, I would have probably been dead.
but they're so fun.
I'm talking about the stupid electric ones, the ones
Wow.
that'll 0 to 60 in whatever, 2 seconds or
Oh, yeah, mine goes 0 to 60 in like 5.4.
and you don't even
Mm.
get to hear them coming, I
Mm.
wanna if I'm that fast, it better be rumbling.
Well, back in those days, I had built a V8 Vega.
Oh.
I had a 72 Chevy Vega with a 67 327 that I was out of a Corvette. I reworked the motor, shoved that baby in there, had the M21 Muncie transmission behind it, narrow 12 bolt, 356 rear gears. That thing ran, and it had a good sound to it.
But he never went above 10, Mike.
Sure.
So I just gotta say, I only know like maybe one third of what you just said, and I got a definite testosterone boner from that.
That's funny. That's funny.
Good stuff, man. That's good stuff. Yep.
Alright, I wanna go I wanna mix I wanna move away from the stuff we've been talking about on like legalities and
Mhm.
law and all that shit and dealing with the public. What was the after hours culture like amongst the, was it a, I don't want to say a brotherhood, but was it like was it really tight and like, you guys would get off shift and
Yes.
I because it
Yeah.
like, I think about, like, I've worked in
Yeah.
a white collar and a little bit of blue collar over the years. You get off work, you're going home to your family, or if you're younger, you're going out for drinks and a
Yeah.
happy hour, you know? And, I mean, you could have been shot at any given moment that day. You're
Yeah.
you're in a,
Yeah.
it's like I see that as a level of respect.
Yeah.
As long as you don't
Oh
obviously
my
people don't
god.
abuse it. It's just like anyone who joins the military. Even if you're a pencil pusher in the
Ah,
military, you did sign up and you could get deployed at any moment.
yeah, you could.
So you'd still sign on for
Mhm.
that as long as you stuck with it. At
Mhm.
least I guess as an officer, you could literally be like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I quit. Military, they're like,
Well, okay, so when I first graduated from the academy, I got sent to one of the busiest stations in Pennsylvania. And when I say the busiest station is that station had more incidents, criminal incidents, all kind of things, alarms, everything. So you get to that station, if you do 1 year at that station, it's like doing 10 anywhere else.
mm, what
So as a matter of fact, the first week that I was at that station, I saw 2 bodies,
first week?
the first week,
Damn.
2 bodies, yeah. And then later in that week, I was working a midnight shift and I was we were at this house searching for a person. And I was at the back door with a local officer who was a much older man. And I was in charge of him. And I'm like fresh out of the academy. I got a shotgun. And I said to him, I said, I don't know about you. I said, but whoever comes out that back door, if they got a gun in their hand, I'm smoking them, because I'm going home at the end of the day,
Yeah. Yep.
Hell yeah.
so that and then it made me step back and think like, "What did I get myself into?"
I bet.
What did I get myself into? But now going back to
Yeah.
your question about, after the shifts are over and the camaraderie, oh my god, you worked hard and you played hard, so we had a great bond. We would do our job and we would handle everything and do everything we had to. So like an example, in the shifts that we worked, if you worked a 3 to 11, you get off at 11 o'clock at night, you'd be back on at 7 in the morning. So
Ooh, yeah.
you had rooms in the barracks so
Yeah.
you could stay there. We get off at 11 o'clock, we'd be at the local bar, you know. 11:30, we'd be at the local bar, throwing them down,
Yeah.
go back to the barracks, hit your bedroom, wake up in the morning, shower,
Do it
back
all
out on the
over.
road. So we had a good brotherhood, a
It was a
good
family, a
relationship.
second
It
family.
was, it really
Yeah.
was. Yeah. So that was a fact.
So that kinda so then, thankfully, that type of stuff you see portrayed on TV is fairly, I wanna say, realistic for the fact of everyone had their back like brother. I mean, like
Yeah,
family as they should,
absolutely, absolutely.
and, yeah, don't cross my family
Yeah,
either, and,
right,
and all the
right,
same shit, which
right.
again, if people are here to protect each other's lives.
Yeah.
You would hope to God that you guys would be that close. Shit.
Well, my squad at that busy station, we were we were named the Animal Squad.
That could go
Nice.
different ways.
Yeah,
That
we
could
were
go a couple
named the
different
Animal
ways.
Squad because we took no shit. People in our squad, we took no shit from nobody. Out on the road, we deal with incidents, we deal with we'd go respond to a bar fight, and we'd step in and we would take care of stuff. We'd handle stuff. If somebody's in there starting and acting up and fighting somebody, we'd boom, 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 take 'em, and
Let's
they're
go.
out the door and we're gone. So
Nice.
we had a supervisor and he on Friday nights, if he came out with a nightstick, his nightstick on Friday night, it's like, "Oh shit, here we go."
To the bar?
No, just out on the road.
Oh,
He was
okay.
just out to the road.
Hold on, dude.
We're going out on the road.
He's
No,
thinking heavy.
no, no, no. If he came out, and he had his nightstick, we knew something was going down this night. He was gonna find some shit, get it started, and be like, "All right, boys, handle that."
Oh, that's awesome.
"All
That's
right,
funny.
boys, handle." So there was one incident. We get to this one scene, and it was a car crash, and these 2 vehicles had hit each other, and one was on
Mhm.
its side and had rolled over, and the corporal was trying to teach this young new trooper, about accident evidence. He's like, "Look, you can see the striations over here, and you can see the scratches here, and you can see where the vehicle rolled over and on
Mhm.
the roof." And this woman is there's like, "That vehicle didn't roll over." And he looked at her and then he just rolled, "Yeah, and you can see this and that." She's, "That vehicle didn't roll over." And I'm like, "What the, this woman is giving him shit, you
Yeah.
know?" He looked at her, he says, "Ma'am, where do you work at?" "Well, I work down at the Turkey Hill, you know, which is like a convenience store, like a
Yep.
Wawa
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. I work at Turkey Hill down the street here." He says, "Do I come down there and tell you how to make sandwiches?" And she said, "No." He
Nope.
said, "Don't tell me how to do my job."
True that.
I was like, "Good one."
Oh, I'll make
But
you a sandwich.
but here's the other piece of that. So they took the guy to the hospital who was in the accident, and we get to the hospital to talk to the guy, and the guy's all busted up and this and that, and the corporal was talking to him, and the corporal was a light complected black man, so he looked Hispanic. This guy is like, "I'll spit on you, you freaking," when he curses at him, "you Puerto Rican mother," and he's like, "No, no, no," and the corporal's telling him, "Look, this is a good day to die. You in the right place, okay? You're in the hospital. We'll bust you up and then they'll fix you up," you
Right?
know?
What are you doing? Yeah.
So the guy was fussing and fussing, and finally, the nurses and the doctors, they were like, "Does he wanna be treated?" And it was like, "You want them to," he's like, "No, I don't wanna." He looked at us, looked at me and these other guys like, "Get him out of here." We grabbed him and drug him out
The
of the
hospital?
thing, out of the hospital, threw him in the back of the car, took him to the station, and threw him in our little lockup, you know, and it was cold out. Prior to him getting there, prior him to him getting to the lockup,
Mhm.
somebody opened the window in the lockup.
Oh, so it's freezing cold in there too.
Yeah, yeah. A couple hours later, he's like, "Can somebody take me to the hospital?" "Oh, you wanna see get when you wanna get
Yeah.
served, then you need some help." "Yeah." Okay,
Yeah.
so we took him back to the
Now you're
hospital.
friendly.
He got fixed up and everything was, you know, and we arrested him, of course, you know. But yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's ways to deal with that kinda stuff.
Yeah, people are
Yeah.
so is that like the kind of stuff, like, what would be similar like, is that the kind of things you would always have to learn only on like, on the job? Like, what is something you like, the academy just couldn't teach you?
That stuff. Yeah,
The
how to,
situational
yeah, it's they can't teach you that. They can't teach you
Mhm.
that because 'cause they're teaching you stuff by the book, and there's stages you have to experience and deal with to
That makes
know
sense.
how to overcome, you know? That comes from experience out on the road.
Was there, since you guys are so wild and all that, was there again, because I like to just reference the shit that everybody sees over the years. If
Mhm.
you look at the police academy days, was there hijinks? Was there ever hijinks with the fire department or with another academy or like another station, or was it
No, there was nothing like
amongst
that.
yourself? No one
No,
was
there was
ever
nothing like that. We didn't do those kinda
there's no
things.
razzing, no
No, no, no,
was there hazing for, like,
no,
newbies or that? Because
no.
they knew
The
Is
job
that would not
nobody's willing to talk about
no, no, the job was tough enough that you didn't need to haze anybody,
good.
you know, because you know that they would experience something or come upon something that, you know, they needed you to be supportive and, you know, be there for them.
Okay, so I'm gonna and I wanna talk longer than you want, so we'll just stay with it. So if you get bored with this, let me know. If not, I'm gonna keep asking questions because I got a billion of them,
What you got?
and I don't wanna go politically, at all, and I know Daryl's views, and I know his wife's views really well, but, but I'm gonna ask a question, keep it but I wanna keep it out of the political realm as much as
Mhm.
possible,
Okay.
because I'm hearing a lot about this from various people that were, actually a lot that are in the service, in the military, and
Mhm.
then even a few that were officers. And so when you see all this new huge ICE presence,
Mhm.
which
Okay.
by the way, I thought briefly that it was a fairly new thing, but it's not.
No,
So ICE itself has been around for years.
yes, they
It's
have.
just now got this
It's prevalent.
new it's blown up.
It,
Yeah,
yeah,
and there's so
it's in
many
the
more of
forefront.
them. But it
I believe
sounds like
2003 is when it was started,
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
2003.
yeah.
But from what I'm hearing,
Mm,
the amount of training that these new officers are getting is I don't wanna say minimal, but comparatively, like,
Subpar
when you went to the academy, that was how long, roughly?
of 6 months.
Okay, and these guys are weeks.
Wow.
It is, it is a
Wow.
fraction of it, and I know some people like, one person was telling me a big issue that he has, and he actually is and this is a guy that I know that is very right wing. But he's like, when I see them dressed, just the gear they wear, not even just the face coverings, and I know what you have to go through, like, as you go through ranks, your uniform changes, and
Yep.
whatever. He goes, what they're wearing, almost none of them have ever earned that shit. He
Right.
goes, I know that pisses off a lot of people
Yeah.
because you should be, almost playing, barely the basics.
Right.
But when you see some of the things happening, like even the random situations with the unfortunate the two people that died in
The 2
Minnesota.
shootings, yeah.
You know, you see one, and again, it's very hard to tell what she was doing with their
Yeah,
car. You
yeah,
had to be there. I
right,
get that, you
right,
know. And then the other one, that was just, I mean, I've seen way too, yeah, way
yeah,
too many of those videos where like
yeah.
that guy, they took his gun. I mean, come on,
They
he was,
he should not have been shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when you see some of that, like, do you see stuff like that happening and be like, what is happening to the training? Or,
That's where it goes
I
back to.
mean, seem like there's not much, dare I say, repercussions? Because it doesn't seem, I don't know. I mean, you know, but like, if
So,
you were in
so
that situation, I assume before, I'm sorry, I do ramble, but, you
It's
know, I
okay,
wanna get it all
it's
out
okay.
what I'm thinking. I would assume in your mind is gonna go like a multi-step process. The first one is assess the situation.
Exactly right,
What do I have to do to make
right,
sure myself
right,
and everyone around me is safe?
right,
And then take out
right,
the thing. And
right.
then as you're doing all that, there's gotta be this small part of it is like, all right, follow process so I don't
Yep,
get my ass handed out to me,
exact
fired, sued, whatever.
exactly right.
And it seems like that part of it
Goes away.
does not exist. It's
Yeah,
more, I can be a
yeah,
I get to be a bouncer that carries a gun out in the
right,
open now, is kinda
right.
what it is. I mean, is that kind of, I mean, I hate to say it, but is it, do you feel that way kinda for some
What
of
I
the stuff
s
you
well, from
see?
what I saw, absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
so Daryl, I'll add to that. So I know how to handle a plenty of different firearms, but there's no way that I know that I have the substance to put myself in the situation that you have over the past 25 years of your career because my mind doesn't work like that. I know I've got the training with a firearm, but to be able to walk out into a public situation like that and be involved with that with a firearm responsibly, I can handle it. I can shoot it. I can load it. I can do all that stuff. I can aim it, point it. I can hit target. Does not mean I have the mental fortitude to handle such a situation. That takes a special person. That I think is what is missing in this whole mix. To add what Joe was saying, and that's what's scary.
Yeah.
Well, what it comes down to, it comes back to training. Okay. So those people are lacking the proper
Yeah.
training to deal with these situations that they're in. And what I'm talking about is you're in a situation where, because I was talking to some other people about it who were not law enforcement and they carry weapons too. And they're like, well, you hear the first shot go off and all you do is you pull your weapon and you just start shooting. Well, no, that's not what you do. You don't just start shooting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you hear a shot go off, you draw your weapon and you assess. You assess. And as you're assessing, do I need to fire? No. Then you drop it down and you put it away. So you don't just fire just because you hear a gunshot go off. That comes back to training.
Yeah. You prepare, but
Correct.
no more.
These people are not trained.
So just to add to that, so in Ohio, we don't need any more. We don't need any special cards to carry. We don't need any special training. It's concealed carry. No need for any special training. I have probably half a dozen weapons that I could carry on myself at any one time to be a lawful weapon carrying concealed citizen. But I
Yeah.
know I don't have the mental fortitude to responsibly handle that kind of responsibility for another human's life.
Yeah.
So I leave my shit at
Right.
that's what's scary about right now. What happened across the United States recently is I don't know that that isn't a problem, that people don't have that realization, that they don't have that switch in their head,
Right.
letting them know that you might not be okay to carry this weapon, sir.
Exactly right.
Like I know I'm emotionally and mentally mature enough to do so, but the whole gravity of that responsibility, nobody seems to be weighing that on their shoulders at all. They're just like, I can carry a firearm. Fuck it, I'm carrying bullets.
Yep.
Yeah, on that, and you want another drink?
Sure.
Yeah, this is a rye,
Okay.
single barrel Michigan rye. I think
All right.
you
Whoa,
got
whoa,
a
whoa, Kindle Barrel, what?
rye.
A rye.
It's a Michener's rye. Michener. This shit's good.
Mittner?
Michener,
Yeah,
Michter. I think you'll like this.
that's what he said.
That's what he said. Got this one in Louisville a while back. But on that note, I remember we were sitting in a restaurant that also had, they did serve alcohol, but it was just a full restaurant up in Virginia
Mhm.
a number of years ago when I still lived there. And I remember walking in to get a table, and there was a guy, and he was on like it was an elevated booth, and he was on the end of it. And Virginia was an open carry state.
Yeah.
And you walk in and you just see this young punk, and he had to have a weapon just sitting there out on his side, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Or even or in the these people in Texas carrying a whole long rifle, and like, what makes you even wanna, like I got my concealed carry. My mindset is I try to not go anywhere where I feel I need to have that gun with
Yeah.
me because then I'm making a bad decision.
Yeah.
Or if there's a reason I gotta go, well,
Yeah.
shit, at least I can.
Yeah.
But I've done the training to do it
Right.
too and all
Right.
that. But I'm
Right.
like, you see people with open carry. Are you like dumbass? I mean,
Well,
like, why?
that's their prerogative.
It is.
You know,
Mm.
have at it, man. You boo. I don't know. But you're right. You guys are absolutely on it. Where people need to have the mindset and the training to carry that weapon. Just because you can doesn't mean you need to.
Exactly.
And there are people that don't understand it.
Yeah, I think I didn't wanna get into it with you, but since we're talking on it real briefly, I'll go real tight with it. Like, I believe in the Second Amendment,
Yeah. So do I.
but again, it was created, 1, because we didn't have a military,
Right.
and also everyone needed a gun to survive back then. We
Mhm.
hunted for food, that's kinda
Mhm.
how it was, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's a basic thing for protection and all that, but I do believe it's too damn easy to get a gun. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it's just because I have a clean record and I don't have an issue with it,
Yeah.
but it just seems like it's harder to get a driver's license than are we missing a step? Like, is it that hard to you think to add? Yes, you can always get one illegally. Forget
Mhm.
that portion of it,
Yeah.
because that's like
Yeah.
anything else.
To lawfully buy a firearm, why is it so damn easy?
Well,
Well,
yeah, and
hang on.
why do people get so freaked out when you say we should make it a little bit harder, and people seem to think immediately you're saying you're gonna take my guns away.
Well, you
But
know
it's not.
something? Let me say this, and here's something that you guys might not have thought about. But if you step back and process, why hasn't any other army in the world, any other country in the world, came and landed on our country, on our soil, and marched through our streets to
Yeah.
overtake us?
There's 2 reasons.
Tell me why.
Oh, there's 2 reasons.
Oh, number one, we got a kick-ass military. Number two, once you get past the military, you got to get past 3.10 million guns that
There it
civilians
is.
own
More guns
because
per
we
There it
capita,
outnumber
is.
civilians.
and
We would
we're also way the fuck away from everybody.
we
Yeah.
we without our military, if another military landed on our shores,
Would still fight.
would destroy because
Yes.
we would take them out, because we would pot shot them left and right and destroy them. So that's why
We have
we will
Yeah.
never be invaded because of that, you know?
Which is a great deterrent.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
yeah, I was saying is like but it's also weird that weird is, like, not the right term for it, but it's scary, I'm just saying, when I see it, how easy it is to get a firearm.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess, like, I look at it for protection,
Mm,
yes, for hunting,
yeah,
fine, if you're into that, it's all great.
yeah.
It's honestly one of the most therapeutic things in the world to go to a range.
Okay.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
if you're having a day where you're just like, "I need to just blow off steam," you go to a range and, it's great. It's just, fires targets, and it's a great way to just unwind.
See, I do that on my motorcycle.
But you
I
have
throw my
your
leg over one of my bikes,
there you
and I'm
and you
like,
go.
I'm in my
Yeah.
zen.
out of class of being judged, I'm not going to tell anybody how I relieve stress.
Keep that to yourself, please.
I said I wasn't going to share, Joe.
Good.
How's it go?
Chef.
Right. Um, yeah, but, I saw they were trying to put a law in Florida to allow, like, 15-year-olds to buy. Come on, 15-year-old, I could you're relieving stress the way Mike's
That's
thinking, and you're not smart, hell, at
yeah,
21, you're
that's
barely smart
unnecessary.
enough to make it. That's the stuff that I don't that I
Yeah.
just gets me. It's just like but again, in America, one of our problems is
Mhm.
anytime you got a situation, we got 300 different ways we wanna argue about it
Yeah,
anyway, so shit's never
yeah.
gonna happen.
See.
I love it. I have 2 questions left. Mike, you got anything?
I just want to know really quick when you were in the law enforcement agencies, how big was your gun?
When I first graduated the academy, I had a, Ruger Security 6 357 Magnum.
Really?
That was issued right out of the academy. That was a beast of a weapon.
Yeah.
And then we switched to Beretta 40, which was really, really downgrade from what I had. Because like an example, if a deer was hit by a car and you responded to the scene for the accident or whatever, you'd have to destroy the
Put the
deer.
deer
With the
Right.
357 Magnum, the
No
deer's
problem.
in front of you, you point the weapon straight up in the air and the deer dies. With
Yeah.
the 40, it's like boom, boom, boom. You gotta shoot it 4 or 5 times to kill it. And it's like, this weapon is shit. I'm sorry, you know?
Yeah.
So, but 357 Magnum was my favorite. Yeah, yeah. That
Nice.
was an awesome weapon.
I know
Nice,
you're very
nice,
last.
nice.
You can't. I'm not letting you ask that.
Why?
You're gonna wait. I know. Yet he can ask that at the end. I
Oh,
know your last
oh,
question. You told me.
oh,
You're gonna wait
okay,
because it's funny.
okay.
Um. So I'm gonna say, is there anything you would go back and give yourself advice on at this point? If you went back to yourself when you were joining the academy, would you be like, "All right, D,
Don't do this,
yeah," or no matter what you do, focus on this.
this.
This is the key to getting through the
Wow.
next 20 years.
Nothing. I honestly, I would say my career, I was pretty lucky. I was pretty fortunate in my career. There's nothing that I would go back and be like, I should have did this different, that different. Because what happened to me is there was one day I was having lunch with this one trooper, and he got out, went to his vehicle, which was a motorcycle. He jumped on the bike and he went ripping down the road, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I can do that. And once I did, and once I finally applied and I got onto the motorcycle unit, I found my niche.
That's
I
awesome.
found my thing,
Hell yeah,
you
good
know.
for you.
And I went through that training, which was amazing in itself. Then I ended up becoming an instructor for the state police. I was an instructor's instructor for the motorcycles, and I did that for 13 years and being on the
Mhm.
motorcycles. And that was my place. I mean, so much to the point that if you got rank, you went to corporal, you would lose the motorcycle because you were then at a station and you
Oh.
you couldn't ride the
So you're like,
motorcycle.
"No, no, no, I'm done. I'm
So
stopping."
when it would come time to take the test for corporals, corporal's test, I would sit down there and they say, okay, the test starts now. I'd sit there and I'd just start making nice designs on the
Never
paper,
wanted to pass.
because I didn't want to pass. Why do I want to? No, just give me the day off the road. I got a chance. I could just draw pretty pictures
Yeah.
and this and that, turn it in.
Nice.
A business
That's,
because I found my niche.
yeah, and so actually that made me think of something else I wanted to actually ask real quick is, do you think it was how hard was it on your wife?
Oh my God.
And I mean, I know you've been, I know you've been
Yeah.
married twice, and I don't know, like, I know your current wife, and I'm trying to think of how long you guys been together. It's been quite a while. So,
We've been married 31 years.
okay, so she was a
Oh,
good part of your time. Of
congrats.
course, you were
Yeah.
together. Did
Yeah.
she? I mean,
Yeah.
was she ever like she's stoic, but she's also got a
Well,
God, does she have a big heart? So I could just see her being always worrying about Daryl coming home.
yeah, she
You
worried.
know?
Her brother was a local officer in Kentucky, so she knew that. She was a nurse. She was in
Yep.
the Navy. She used to work in the ERs. The ERs that I would go into, she worked there. So she saw things that I saw, and we would be able to talk about it. When her and I got together, then when we before we were even we knew each other 6 years before we got together.
Nice.
When we finally got together, at the end of our days, we'd come home and we could talk about because we couldn't talk about that with our spouses prior because they couldn't
Right.
handle it. My first wife was a teacher. She can't handle me telling about this kid got shot and, in the head and this and that.
Yeah.
And we had to chase down the perpetrator. And I couldn't tell her that, but I could come home and tell Brenda that, you
Gotcha.
know,
That's probably huge though.
and
I
we could
mean,
talk about things like that.
yeah, that's
There
amazing.
were things I could talk to her about, and then there were things I wouldn't talk to her about because I didn't want to worry her too much,
Okay.
you
Good.
know?
So before you ask your last question, which is a very important question for anybody that has such an extinguished career,
We don't know my
mine is
last
a
question.
little, uh, I might, I might, but
Mm.
honesty counts here, Daryl. Now, I know myself. So we have to know if at any point in your career, did you practice quick draws in full uniform regalia
Quick draws?
by busting out your best Robert De Niro taxi driver voice? You talking to me?
No.
Oh, come on. I would.
No.
No, I know you. I
Nah,
believe you would,
no.
Mike. I do believe you
The
would.
Oh,
only
I
the only
would.
well, the only time you're doing that anyway is when you go to the range, because you have to qualify every year.
No, he means that you ever
Right.
at home just look in the mirror, dressed up, going,
No, no,
You mean even when you're a rookie and you put on that fine uniform with that badge and you sat
no.
there and you're like, damn.
he walked in
Well,
the living room and said,
first
"Hey,
off
honey, look at this."
first off, in your state police, if you notice the uniform has no badge on the uniform.
I
The
didn't
patch
notice it.
the patch is the badge.
Daryl,
We have a badge, but it was never worn on the uniform. But no, I never did that. I never was like, you
I
know
never walked in front of the mirror and was like,
no, no,
I
no.
would.
Because I'll be honest with you, I tried not to let that job define me as to who I was, you know? It was hard because I had to eventually give in to the fact that that job had to define me
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
because we were watched 24/7, okay? We're watched on the job, we're off duty, we're watched off
Yep.
duty. I mean, everything you do, we lived in a glass house, you know? And so your actions, even off duty, can affect what happens in within the department.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people don't realize
Yeah.
that too. A lot of people
I
think it's either you're there to be because you're a good person and you wanna do good,
Mhm.
or you're on a power trip. That's what I mean, people are which I assume you saw some of both,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
There's
yeah, I absolutely saw that. Yeah.
unfortunately, but
So in the academy, there was my class and there was a class ahead of me. So the class ahead of me had, they had self-defense and there was this one guy in the class and they get into self-defense and this girl whooped his ass. I mean, literally wiped the floor with him. Okay. So he gets sent to that station that I got sent to, which was the second, if not the busiest station in Pennsylvania. And I ended up in his squad. So when I first get there, I keep hearing this stories about this guy, and they kept saying his name, and I'm like, and they're saying this guy's a badass, he's the toughest thing, and this and that and the third. I'm like, no, no,
no,
no,
he's not.
that name is not the same dude in the academy that got his ass beat by this girl. No, that's not it. It can't be the same dude.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I looked up and they come around the corner. I was like, that's the same motherfucker.
That's
You know,
why that's wanna get that gal, like, "Hey, can you come to the
so
station?"
so wait. It,
Oh,
it
it gets
gets
better.
better. It
Oh,
gets better.
yes, I love it.
So we're going to incidents, and I'm watching him kicking people's doors in, throwing people down on the ground, and cuffing people, and he's like acting like all this badass. And I'm like, motherfucker, if they only knew you couldn't beat yourself out of a wet paper bag, you got us behind you to
Right.
keep you from getting your ass beat, you know, bitch.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
But he was
great.
he was one of those guys, man. He was just full of the power, because there was a lot of authority and a lot of power in
Yeah.
the
Well,
job,
yeah,
and he was one of those guys.
he loved it.
But,
That's
yeah, I was like, "You gotta be kidding me," you know? That was real.
My next question is after everything you've been through,
I thought you were
before
done.
Joe ask his final no, we're not done. Would you recommend, saying as everything you've seen in the transition you've done from the 80s to the early 2000s and what's going on in today's society with the law enforcement and the overwhelming oversight that they have, would you still recommend this career path for somebody that even has the grit to pull it
If
off?
you if your grandson was way older than he is now, if he was about to graduate high school or college, and he came to you and said, "Papa, I think I wanna go into the academy," what would you say?
What I would do, because 'cause I've done this to a neighbor. A neighbor came to me and he was talking about he wanted to be in law
Mhm.
enforcement. So all I would do is give him the truth and give him the information.
Yeah.
That's all I can do. Because if that person has it in their heart that they wanna do it, they're gonna do it regardless of what you say or whatever.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be honest with them and tell them the truth about it. So I'm gonna tell them, like an example, "Okay, so you wanna get into law enforcement, right? You sure you really wanna do that? Okay. So let's think about this. So every holiday, weekends, things like that, you're gonna be working, okay? Also, when you leave the house to go to work, you may not come home. So you wanna put your family through that. Are you sure that's what you wanna do?" I'm gonna give them the truth and
Yeah.
give them the real and let them make that determination whether they feel they should do it or not. That's what I've done, and that's what I'll continue to do. It's not like saying, "Oh my god, it's the greatest thing in the world," and this and that. 'Cause I had a conversation recently with a sheriff here in St. John's, and he's like, "Well, do you miss the job?" No, I don't miss the job. I miss the people in the job. I miss
Yeah.
the people,
Right.
the camaraderie that I had in the job. I miss those guys,
Yep.
and I miss everything that I did on the motorcycles with the department. I don't miss the job itself. I don't miss going to work and thinking and feeling that my family might not see me again
Yeah.
alive, and
Valid.
putting them through that strain of daddy might not come home today, or my wife, my husband might not come home today. I don't miss that. I don't miss putting that on them. So I would give a person who would come to me and ask me that question, I'd give them the truth and then let you make that determination for yourself. Because I can't make that decision for you.
Good
You got to
answer.
make it yourself. I'm just giving you
Nice.
information.
I like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And so for anyone who doesn't know Daryl, doesn't know what Daryl looks like, Daryl also has a lusciously nice short beard coming in right now. The gray looks amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank you.
my young man.
Thank you. Alright.
Who's not young compared Mike, as I explained to you, Daryl looks like someone that would kick your ass, but the
Mm.
problem is he's also, which I think was probably a huge benefit to you. Daryl is not a very intimidating looking person, biggest teddy bear in the world, unless you cross him, but such a sweetheart, in reality, he's a great guy. But as I said, he's a dark-skinned man who has this nice stubble going on right now. And as I'm looking at him, this light that he's got over next to me, all I see is Danny Glover going, "I'm too old for this shit." Did you ever hit those days when it was coming up?
Yes,
And you know the
yes.
beauty is he was
Nice.
40 years old when he was
Mhm,
doing that shit?
mhm.
That's the best. But every time I look over, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Damn it, Danny Glover."
Yes, yeah.
It's like if Danny Glover and Mike
I
Tyson had a
I
kid,
was
you'd be
there.
sitting right here now.
I was there. I was in those shoes, man. I was
I
like, "I'm too
bet.
old for this shit," you know?
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, you know? I mean, there were situations where, you come to a scene and you're all of a sudden you see a perpetrator and you see them running, and they start running between houses at night, and you got
Mm.
a young kid with you, and it's like, you don't separate, first of all. You never separate,
Ah,
because if you separate, you could come around the building this way, that person come around the building this way, you might accidentally shoot your partner,
partner.
so
Yeah.
you don't separate, and you see the motherfucker run, it's like, "See, I'm too old for this shit."
I can't catch up with you. What are you doing?
No, it's
Stop.
not that I can't. It's
I
like,
don't want
I'm
to.
not. We'll get him another
Yeah.
time. We'll get him another time because 'cause he'll be dumb enough to do it again,
Yeah, exactly.
or we'll get
Yep.
enough evidence to get
Go
him
find
sooner or
him
later. Yeah,
without having to, yeah,
"Well,
go crazy.
another day. Got you. Go ahead."
We'll see you later, buddy. We'll see you
Yeah.
later.
Exactly. That's real. That's
Yep.
real.
It should be. All right.
There are so many little situations and things that I've been through that it's hilarious, Okay, I'll give you one. So,
Yes, more stories.
we were, me and this female trooper were working a midnight shift together, and apparently this guy jumped off of a bridge and he wanted to commit suicide and wanted to jump in front of a tractor trailer. Missed the tractor trailer, but hit his
No.
head on the road. So the road was angled down like this so that the everything would run into the berm,
Yep.
okay? So he hit his head and he's bleeding, and we get to the scene, he's still alive. So we get the disposable blanket, we lay it over him, trying to treat him for shock, and I could hear the ambulance coming. I'm like, "Yes,
I'm
ambulance.
done. Yeah.
Ambulance is here." So we get in the car and we're sitting in the car and I was like, "Come on, young troop, sit down, just sit down." And she's like, "Well, we need to stop the ambulance people from walking through the back." No, no, no. They know what they're doing. They know their job. Leave them alone. They'll do their job. And she's like watching and she's like, "Oh my God, look at them. They really do know what they're doing. They're not stepping in the blood." And this, I'm like, "I told you, kid, come on, just trust me." And she's like, "You're absolutely loving this." I'm like, "Yes, indeed." I said, "You know why?" She's like, "Why?" I said, "Because we don't have to do the investigation on this. Because this is the crime unit is going to do this investigation. We're doing a supplemental report, which is just a little quick line of things saying we responded to the scene, assessed the situation, EMS arrived, and we were out."
Good. Good. Full stop.
Right. Right.
And she was like, "You're absolutely right." I was like, "Told you, kid."
Experience goes a long way.
Yeah.
That made me wonder. So do you, even now, years out, do you still get that gut feeling? Like, do you have sometimes have a situation where you're just kind of like, I mean, right.
Yeah.
Is it, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's there
Yeah,
for life,
it's
right?
there for life. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, that'll never go away.
And it shouldn't.
Daryl, I have to say that this is probably one of the most educational, enlightening podcasts that we've done with a guest.
Wow.
And I appreciate your time and the eye opening and the sharing of the stories. It was definitely a good time. Yeah, I'm glad you made it out safe and
Yeah,
nothing
me
but the
too.
best for you and your family. Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty floored. This is pretty cool. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Alright, thank you for having
Yes.
me.
Thank you very
Greatly
much.
appreciate it, greatly
This was
appreciate it.
a blast. And
I hope I could enlighten you guys and anybody who's listening to some of the things that we went through on the job, so
Absolutely.